It's 6 p.m. on a Wednesday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che here to provide you with the latest. Let's start with the headlines. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says his regime has the capability to put a miniaturized nuclear warhead on a ballistic missile and released pictures to back up his words. Seoul and Washington are skeptical and keeping a watchful eye on the possible progress. Beijing denies entry to a ship from Pyongyang. Could this mean North Korea's longtime supporter China is turning its back on its ally to fall in line with international sanctions on the regime? A shocking defeat for the representative of mankind in a historic Baduk match. AlphaGo wins Game 1 over Se-dol. We start off with the latest response from the presidential office of Cheongwade to Pyongyang's recent hacking attempts and possible plans for more cyber attacks. In a statement to the nation delivered by her spokesperson, President Park Geun-hye said North Korea's recent act of tapping into the smartphones of senior South Korean officials in charge of national security is another type of provocation following its nuclear test and missile launch. Following an emergency meeting on Tuesday, Seoul's intelligence agency said that Pyongyang has attempted to hack into the smartphones of key South Korean officials for defense and diplomacy, tapping into their conversations and text messages. President Park asked all relevant parties to be on full alert and rev up preventive measures against additional cyber attacks, which, she said, could lead to nationwide chaos and cause significant financial losses. North Korea continues to forge ahead with its nuclear threats, this time by releasing a picture of a miniaturized nuclear warhead, claiming it was successfully placed on top of a ballistic missile. According to Connie Kim, although the regime's breakthrough seems dubious, Seoul and Washington are keeping close tabs on their progress.
Has North Korea succeeded in miniaturizing a nuclear warhead to fit on a ballistic missile? North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency on Wednesday quoted leader Kim Jong-un as saying it has. Pyongyang has made the same claim in the past, but this is the first time its leader has been quoted directly. It's also the first time the North has released a picture of the warhead, with an image of the purported device appearing in the North's daily Nodongshinmun the same day. Shaped like a silver sphere, it's estimated to be about a meter in diameter. The Daily also released photos of the North's KN-08 intercontinental ballistic missile prior to completion. South Korea on Wednesday expressed doubt over the North's claim.
South Korea believes North Korea does not possess a miniaturized nuclear warhead nor the capability to field a KN-08. South Korean and U.S. intelligence officials are tracking the issue.
However, North Korea experts are keeping an eye on the progress Pyongyang may have made in its miniaturization capability.
Looking at the history of North Korea's nuclear weapons development program, I believe North Korea's success in miniaturizing a nuclear warhead is imminent. The regime looks like it will be able to mount a nuclear warhead on medium or large missiles.
If the regime has succeeded, Seoul and Washington will need to revise their operation plan, which is designed to detect, disrupt, destroy, and defend the peninsula against North Korea's long-range ballistic missiles. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The chairman of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Lee Sun-jin, visited frontline military units on the border to encourage the troops participating in the annual training drill with the United States. On Wednesday, General Lee said the North is highly likely to take action in order to break out of its current situation. He called on the troops to maintain their defense readiness to counter any provocations. South Korea and U.S. launched their annual Key Resolve and full legal exercises on Monday. With 17,000 American troops and some 300,000 South Korean soldiers, the exercises are the largest of their kind. It seems the harsher international sanctions on North Korea are really starting to bite. Even the regime's longtime ally, China, is turning its back, barring a North Korean freighter from one of its ports. Kwon So-hwa has this report.
In one of the first signs that the UN Security Council sanctions on Pyongyang are being implemented, China has denied a North Korean ship entry to one of its ports, according to media reports Wednesday. A Chinese shipping official says the cargo ship Grand Caro arrived at Rizal Port in Shandong, northeastern China, over the weekend. But the port did not allow the ship to berth, as it is one of the 31 vessels blacklisted under the new UN resolution. Japanese Sankei Shimbun newspaper said Wednesday Chinese trade officials have been ordered to reject North Korean ships beginning on Thursday and to inspect all North Korean imports, adding that the Chinese government is also expected to deny passage to ships returning to the north and may even stop maritime trade with North Korea once and for all. Already, bilateral trade at the border between North Korea and China has dropped 20% to 30%, according to a diplomatic source. The latest moves appear to be a sign that North Korea's closest ally is turning its back on the regime. But experts say it's too early to verify such claims, as China cooperated with getting previous UN Security Council resolutions passed, but later displayed lukewarm attitude toward their implementation.
It will be difficult for China not to implement the sanctions they drafted over such a long period of time with the U.S. In consideration of U.S.-China relations and Beijing's national image, there's a high chance that they want to demonstrate their active participation in the implementation at the early stages after the adoption of the resolution.
The expert added, regardless of China, the international community is very supportive of the new UN resolution more than ever before, as reflected in the fast adoption of independent measures by individual countries. In the latest of these, the UK imposed new financial sanctions on Pyongyang, adding 15 individuals and 5 entities to its blacklist, making it 48 and 41 in all, along with the separate sanctions by the UN Security Council and the EU. Kwon-soa, Arirang News.
The United States has once again made clear that there will be no dialogue with North Korea until the rogue state takes steps toward denuclearization. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency, the United States top nuclear envoy Sung Kim said Washington's North Korea policy remains the same and there is no secret dealing with China that South Korea is not aware of. His comments come amid speculations Beijing had proposed a two-track approach of pursuing Pyongyang's denuclearization and peace talks simultaneously. In response to the looming possibility of 5-party talks excluding North Korea, Kim said the U.S. is open to the idea, but he doesn't believe that China has agreed to it. Turning to local politics now, the country's 2 main rival parties are still deadlocked over a set of contentious bills as the current session winds down and the new session starts on Friday. For some background on their positions, let's now turn to Shin Se-min.
The country's 2 main political parties are still at odds over a package of contentious bills related to the economy, the service sector, and cyber-terrorism prevention. The ruling Saenuri Party is pushing for a vote on the bills on Friday, the first day of the new March session, and has called on the Speaker to use his authority to specifically bring the anti-cyber-terrorism bill up for a vote.
We've even asked the Assembly Speaker to call a session for the swift passage of pending bills, including the cyber-terrorism bill. He asked that we try to reach a compromise on the bills that didn't get handled during the previous session.
President Park Geun-hye has been pressing lawmakers to pass the cyber-terrorism bill, saying it'll help protect the country from financial and national chaos in the event of a provocation from North Korea. On Tuesday, Korea's intelligence agency said it believes Pyongyang could be preparing for a large-scale cyber attack on South Korea. It also said Pyongyang tried to hack into the smartphones of key South Korean officials, stealing information and breaching an online financial software network. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea says the cyber-terrorism bill is off the table, saying the National Intelligence Service cannot be in charge of cyber-terrorism, especially after its week-long filibuster against a related counterterrorism bill that it objected to because of the power it would give the agency. Instead, it offered to vote on 11 non-contentious bills, including a Veterans Affairs Act.
We have learned through our week-long filibuster that the ruling party is reluctant to communicate. There is no point in holding the session if the ruling party is unwilling to compromise.
With the general election slated for April 13th, the lawmakers are already chased by time, leaving many questions whether they'll be able to reach a compromise before the time runs out. 신세민, Arirang News.
Korea's political parties are racing to complete the process of nominating candidates for an upcoming election on April 13th. But they're getting tripped up by infighting over the candidate nomination rules. Ji Myung-gil explains further.
The infighting within the Se-dol party can be traced back to a power struggle between those loyal to President Park Geun-hye and those who aren't. Party chair Kim Moo-sung, who is part of the non-Park faction, wants an open primary where party members and citizens choose the candidates to keep powerful people and factions from dominating the process. Lee Yang-gu, a pro-Park lawmaker, is using a top-down process in which the party chooses. He is also the chief of the party's nominating committee, and he declared last week that 23 districts, 3 districts within each of the 17 most hotly contested metropolitan cities and provinces around the country, will follow a top-down system. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea's nominating committee is also taking a top-down approach. It decided that the bottom 20% of the 127 party members who were elected in 2012 will not be allowed to run this year to make room for fresh faces. That's 25 lawmakers, and of them, 10 have left the party and 5 have declared they aren't running, so only 10 have been disqualified. Still, the decision has already prompted a backlash within the party's rank and file. Minju's philosophical ally, the newly minted People's Party, selected 49 candidates on Wednesday through a combination of party recommendations and public opinion polls. Minju has called for a merger of the two parties, but the People's Party remains divided over the prospect. All 3 parties are also scrambling to woo members of underrepresented groups, including women, young people, and the disabled. People from these groups will get an extra 10 to 25% more points toward their candidate applications. In addition, first-time candidates will get 10 to 20% more points than incumbent lawmakers. Parties will also reserve 10% more of their proportional representative seats for women. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Round 1 of the hotly anticipated match of the century has ended with machine-besting men in their first go-around. The first game of Baduk or Ko, as it's commonly known in the rest of the world, between Grandmaster Se-dol of Korea and artificial intelligence supercomputer AlphaGo wrapped up after about 3 hours and 30 minutes. We now connect live to our Lee Ji-won, who is standing by at the venue of the Titanic bout, the Four Seasons Hotel. Ji-won, tell us how it happened.
Hi, Daniel. AlphaGo took the first victory after 186 moves. He realized that he could not win the game and gave up his 187th move and forfeited. The game was a tight competition in the beginning, and AlphaGo even made a number of moves that professional Go players would not normally make. But a critical mistake by Se-dol on the 127th move turned the tables for the machine.
Well, Ji-won, AlphaGo certainly gave Yi a run for his money. It hasn't happened in a long while, and Yi seemed thoroughly entertained facing a worthy foe. What do experts say about AlphaGo's Baduk skills?
Well, Daniel, even professional Go players were amazed at how good AlphaGo is. Experts were complimenting AlphaGo's skills even before the game ended.
It's unbelievable how good it is. Even from the beginning, it was a bit different from how other international Go players play. A bit more classic and old school, I'd say.
Experts said that because AlphaGo calculates its moves systematically, a move that may seem meaningless to humans and that humans might see as a mistake might end up being the perfect solution for that particular moment. But they still have 4 games left to play, so it might be too early to say that artificial intelligence has outsmarted human intelligence. That's all I have for now. I'm Lee Ji-won reporting live from the Four Seasons Hotel on Se-dol and AlphaGo's first historic match. Back to you, Daniel.
All right, thank you for that, Jiwon. Well, Korean victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery held a press conference in New York to urge Japan to sincerely apologize and offer them legal compensation. During a press conference marking International Women's Day on Tuesday local time, 88-year-old former victim Lee Yong-soo demanded that Japan offer a clear and sincere apology for the crime. Around 200,000 women, mainly from Korea, were forced into sexual slavery during World War II. New York City said it plans to adopt the resolution urging the Japanese government to resolve the issue.
You are now seeing clear evidence of the crime. I was kidnapped one night at the age of 15 without even knowing what was happening. I cannot speak anymore as my heart is breaking. Please give us your support. Please help the issue to be resolved so that Japan assumes its legal responsibility, apologizes, and offers legal compensation.
Moving on to other stories, Korea's top conglomerates have decided to expand investment this year by more than 5%. The investment boost comes despite their general pessimism about the business conditions for the remainder of 2016. Park Ji-won tells us more.
The Federation of Korean Industries has released its report on the annual and midterm investment plans of Korea's 30 biggest business groups. According to the breakdown released on Wednesday, the conglomerate's total investment in 2016 will exceed $101 billion, up 5.2% from the previous year. The on-year increase comes mostly from investment in facilities, which are set to rise more than 7% compared to last year. Investment in R&D remains at a similar level of some $26 billion. Out of the 30 groups, 18 will boost investment, 3 will remain static, and the remaining 9 will downsize their investments. Looking at it group by group, Korea's biggest conglomerate, Samsung Group, plans to invest $12.8 billion in a semiconductor complex in Pyeongtaek, south of Seoul. Hyundai Motor Group plans to invest over $10 billion in smart and eco-friendly vehicles. SK Group is going to invest $4.5 billion in new memory chip plant and invest another billion in network infrastructure. LG Group plans to invest some $8 billion in LCD production by 2018 and another $3 billion in a state-of-the-art R&D complex in 2020. 80% of the 30 groups have a negative outlook for this year, saying general economic conditions will be worse than last year. However, most of them expect the economy to improve from late 2017. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And we've come to the end of our newscast. As always, thank you for watching.